information to young children at a very low level.
In the Berenstain Bears' New Baby, you show Mama Bear when she's pregnant, cartoon book, how to tell your children about sex without making a complete fool of yourself. Unfortunately, it's out of print.
This isn't about a cartoon that was loud or controversial. It's about one that slipped through quietly. Strange details, odd choices, moments that felt normal at the time and were never done again. If you watched this as a kid, you probably accepted everything without question. But revisiting it now, some of those details stand out in a way they never did before. Not because they were wrong, but because they quietly vanished from children's television afterward. These are the 30 strangest banned details about the Berenstain Bears Christmas Tree they didn't want you to notice.
I've been doing a lot of illustration. I like to draw.
Fact 1. The creators literally fainted when they heard the workload.
The waiting was down to 10 hours and counting. The holly was hung, the presents were bought.
This project almost stopped before it even began. When producer Buzz Potamkin told Stan and Jan Berenstain the special would require about 20,000 individual animation drawings for just 25 minutes, they didn't argue. They fainted. Literally. They were book illustrators, not animation veterans. Their world was still images, not thousands of moving ones. Hearing that number felt overwhelming. It wasn't exaggeration, it was reality. Looking back, it's easy to see why this kind of pressure quietly disappeared from family animation. The workload alone explains why this approach was never encouraged again. Fact 2. They had never drawn the bears from behind before.
Hey everybody, I'm home! Hey, look what... Whoop.
Here's a problem no one expected. The Berenstains had never drawn their bears from the back. Not once. In books, the bears almost always faced forward or sideways. Animation demanded full movement, turning, walking away, standing with their backs to the camera. Suddenly, the creators had to invent angles of characters they had never designed. Model sheets had to be rebuilt, poses rethought. It slowed everything down. Watching the special now, you'd never notice the struggle. But this kind of uncertainty behind the scenes is something later productions worked hard to avoid. Fact 3. The special ends with a very strange salmon joke.
But in the case of the salmon, we'll make an exception.
The final joke still catches people off guard. On Christmas Day, Sister Bear asks why Papa's lesson about being kind to animals doesn't apply to the salmon they're eating for dinner. Papa pauses, then jokes they're willing to make an exception for the salmon. And then it ends. No correction, no reflection, just an uncomfortable laugh. As kids, most people missed it. As adults, it lands differently. It slightly undercuts the message in the final seconds. It's not surprising this kind of ending quietly disappeared from later children's specials. Fact 4. Papa trusts his big toe more than the weather.
I can always tell if we're going to have snow by a sharp shooting pain in my left big toe.
Papa Bear has his own forecasting system. He believes a sharp shooting pain in his big toe means snow is coming. When Mama warns about an approaching storm, Papa ignores her because his toe doesn't hurt yet. The joke drives the entire plot. His confidence leads to every problem that follows. Watching now, it feels very much of its time. The idea that warnings are ignored until everything falls apart was once common in children's stories. Over the years, that kind of lesson slowly faded as storytelling changed. Fact 5. The Christmas star has an absurd number of points.
Their Christmas tree star. It had 18 points.
One decoration quietly steals attention. The Bears' Christmas star is described as an excessively glittering 18-pointed star. Not 5, not 8, 18. The narration leans into how extreme it looks. It's meant to be impressive, but it borders on ridiculous. As a kid, it's just shiny. As an adult, it feels like a gentle joke about excess. Bigger, brighter, more than necessary. Later specials soften this kind of visual exaggeration, making moments like this stand out even more when revisited. Fact 6. Every line in the special is written in rhyme.
Merry Christmas, Gus. We were just, cum-cubs.
This isn't just a rhyming narrator. Every single line in the entire special rhymes. All dialogue, all narration. For the full 25 minutes. That's an enormous creative risk. Most shows use rhyme briefly, then stop. This one never does. The rhythm has to stay natural, the meaning clear, and the story moving forward at the same time. As a kid, it just feels cozy. As an adult, it's impressive and easy to imagine why this approach wasn't repeated often. One wrong line could derail the whole thing. That constant tightrope walk gives the special its storybook feel, but also explains why later productions avoided going this far. Fact 7. The Berenstains drew nonstop for 3 straight weeks.
Especially working with rhyme, you'll want to go off by yourself.
There's a certain amount of working it alone in the middle of the night. Sure. When you can't sleep because...
Before animation could even begin, the Bears had to be locked in. Stan and Jan Berenstain spent nearly 3 straight weeks drawing model sheets without stopping. Front views, side views, expressions, movements, over and over. These weren't creative sketches. They were strict reference drawings meant to control every frame. It was exhausting work, done behind closed doors. By the end, they knew every curve of the characters by memory. Watching the finished special now, everything looks effortless. But this level of manual preparation is something later animated projects quietly moved away from as production methods changed. Fact 8, it knocked. Little House on the Prairie, off the schedule.
What he saw through the window was a tiny snowbird busily trimming his Christmas tree.
This special didn't ease its way onto television. On December 3rd, 1979, it aired at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, replacing Little House on the Prairie. That was a bold move. Little House was one of the most popular family shows on television. Viewers tuned in expecting the prairie and suddenly got animated bears instead. That kind of scheduling gamble feels almost unthinkable now. Whether families welcomed the change or not, they were forced to notice it. It's the kind of programming decision networks later became far more cautious about, especially during primetime hours. Fact 9, One Tree somehow houses an entire animal neighborhood.
Look! Somebody has decorated our house!
The first Christmas tree Papa finds is already full. Inside live a skunk, a grouse, squirrels, crows, and chipmunks, all sharing the same space peacefully. No conflict, no fear, just harmony. The special treats this as completely normal. In real life, it makes no sense. Predators and prey live side by side like neighbors. As a kid, it reads as kindness. As an adult, it feels like fantasy pushed to its limit. The idea repeats with each tree. Papa visits, growing more dramatic every time. It's gentle, but also oddly unrealistic. In a way, later children's stories tended to soften. Fact 10, Papa causes chaos, carrying a giant salmon through town. The opening scene tells you exactly who Papa is. He's lugging a giant salmon through town with a fishing pole, knocking things over and causing chaos everywhere he goes. It's slapstick, but it's also revealing. Papa is confident, loud, certain he's right. He doesn't think ahead, and everyone else deals with the fallout. As a kid, it's funny. As an adult, it feels familiar. This is a character flaw that drives the entire story. Later, children's specials often smooth these rough edges, but here, the chaos is allowed to unfold right from the first scene. Fact 11. The entire project almost died before it started.
Quite what I had in mind. Come, Cubs!
Before a single drawing was finished, the special was nearly canceled. In November 1978, the Berenstains were told there was no market for new animated television specials. Not weak interest, no market at all. That single sentence nearly ended everything. Networks didn't want new holiday cartoons anymore, and the message felt final. The Berenstains seriously considered walking away. From their point of view, the door had closed. Watching the finished special now, it's strange to realize how close it came to never existing. One discouraging meeting almost erased what would quietly become a long-running Christmas memory. Fact 12. A misdelivered letter accidentally saved the special.
We had a lot of wonderful reaction. As a matter of fact, I got a phone call a few weeks ago.
The project survived because of a mistake. Producer Joe Cates sent an invitation letter, but it went to the Berenstains' old address. It arrived late, on February 8th, 1979. Just after they had given up hope, the timing changed everything. The letter invited them to discuss turning the Bears into a television special. If it had arrived earlier, it might have been ignored. If it arrived later, the moment might have passed. Instead, it landed at the exact second they needed it. One misplaced envelope quietly reversed a decision that had already felt final. Fact 30. The producer admitted the books drove him crazy.
We got one negative letter on that book, and it said, "How dare we do it?"
Joe Cates didn't pretend this was a business move. In his letter, he admitted his children owned about 15 Berenstain Bears books and that he had gone nuts reading them over and over. That honesty mattered. It showed he understood what made the books work. Repetition, rhythm, comfort, the same qualities every parent recognized immediately. This wasn't corporate enthusiasm, it was lived experience. Anyone who read bedtime stories night after night knew exactly what he meant. That shared exhaustion built trust and helped keep the adaptation from feeling overly polished or manufactured. Fact 14. They auditioned nearly 40 voices in one afternoon. Casting happened at exhausting speed. In just 6 hours, the Berenstains listened to 8 Papa Bears, 6 Mama Bears, and 24 sister and brother bears. That's 38 auditions in one sitting. Imagine hearing the same characters again and again, trying to decide which voices felt right. It wasn't about performance alone, it was about warmth and familiarity. The Bears needed to sound like a real family. By the end of the day, they were drained, but they had their cast. Watching now, the voices feel effortless, hiding how rushed that process actually was. Fact 15, Papa waits until Christmas Eve to find a tree.
I will find the right tree if it takes us a week.
This choice baffled critics, even at the time. Papa waits until just hours before Christmas to head into the woods to find a tree. No plan, no backup, no urgency. Everything that goes wrong stems from that decision. As kids, we accept it. As adults, it's maddening. Why wait? Why risk it? The entire story depends on Papa's delay. The special quietly uses this flaw to teach its lesson. Confidence turns into trouble. Warnings go ignored. And the Bears are left scrambling at the last possible moment. A setup that later children's stories tended to smooth out. Fact 16, the composer's first demo sounded completely wrong.
This way to Bear Country, you'll know when you're there. As soon as you enter, you'll feel like a...
The music nearly fooled everyone. Composer Elliott Lawrence first demonstrated the score by singing in a raspy voice while playing a tinny piano. It sounded nothing like a finished Christmas special. On paper, it should have been rejected. But the Berenstains heard something else. They heard warmth. They said the rough demo felt beautiful. That instinct paid off. Once fully arranged, the music became one of the special's strongest elements. Looking back, it's a reminder that early versions often sound wrong before they sound right. A risk later productions were far less willing to take. Fact 17. Every tree gets more dramatic than the last.
The perfect tree to put beneath our 18-pointed star. The perfect tree.
The tree hunt follows a very deliberate pattern. Each tree Papa finds is more extreme than the one before. Tree number 2 is described as so regal it houses an eagle. Then the scale keeps growing. Bigger trees, bigger animals, higher stakes. The repetition becomes noticeable. Kids see adventure. Adults see structure. The escalation isn't random. It's teaching the viewer that nothing Papa chooses will be enough. By the time he reaches the final tree, you already know it won't work. The story has trained you to expect something even more dramatic. Fact 18, Papa sees a family that looks just like his own. One quiet moment changes everything. Inside the final tree, Papa sees a bird family decorating their own tiny Christmas tree. They look calm, prepared, happy, and they mirror the bear family almost exactly. The scene stops being funny and becomes reflective. Papa realizes his choices affect others. There's no speech, no music swell, just recognition. For kids, it's gentle. For adults, it lands emotionally. This is where the lesson finally clicks, not through scolding, but through empathy. And that realization leads directly to the story's most unexpected solution. Fact 19. The treehouse becomes the Christmas tree.
Fellow creatures, one and all.
So Merry Christmas. When Papa fails, the animals adapt. Instead of cutting anything down, they decorate the bear's entire treehouse. Lights, garland, ornaments. The house itself becomes the Christmas tree. It's simple, quiet, and surprisingly elegant. No celebration, no applause. The solution just happens. Watching now, it feels thoughtful, even modern. The story avoids harm and keeps its message intact. The special doesn't end with spectacle. It ends with cooperation. That calm resolution is part of why the story lingered in memory, even when flashier specials faded. Fact 20, the director would later win a Caldecott Medal. At the time, no one knew what this would lead to. The special was directed by Mordecai Gerstein. Years later, in 2004, he won the Caldecott Medal for The Man Who Walked Between the Towers. That book became a classic. Looking back, it's easy to spot early signs of his style here. The pacing, the restraint, the emotional clarity. This wasn't just a television assignment, it was part of a longer creative path. The Bears Christmas special quietly sits at the beginning of a much larger artistic legacy. Fact 21. This was the first time the Bears were ever animated.
When we hang all this stuff on our Christmas tree.
Before this special, the Berenstain Bears only existed on paper. Books, illustrations, still images. This was the first time the Bears moved, talked, and lived in motion. That made every choice risky. Voices could feel wrong. Movements could break the illusion. Fans already had strong ideas about how the Bears should feel. Animation has ruined beloved characters before. Somehow, this worked. The animated versions felt familiar almost immediately. Watching now, it's easy to forget how bold that step was. Bringing the Bears to life this way was a gamble one later adaptations handled far more cautiously. Fact 22, a cereal company paid for the entire special.
Having Super Sugar Crisp with Sugar Bear.
Delicious puffs of wheat you want to share with friends.
This Christmas story existed because of breakfast food. Kellogg sponsored the entire special. Without that funding, it never would have aired. At the time, this was common, but it shaped the tone completely. Everything had to stay gentle, safe, family-friendly. No sharp edges. No heavy conflict. Watching now, you can feel that restraint. Papa's mistakes are softened. Tension never goes too far. This kind of sponsor-driven storytelling quietly faded as television changed. But for this era, it defined what the special could and could not be. Fact 23, it faced serious competition the night it aired. The Bears didn't have the night to themselves. When the special premiered, it went up against 240, Robert and the White Shadow. Both were established shows with loyal audiences. That meant families had to choose. This wasn't background viewing. You either watched the Bears or you didn't. The fact that it held its own says a lot about the strength of the name. Even without animation history, audiences trusted the Bears. Looking back, it's the kind of head-to-head scheduling networks later avoided, especially for new family programming. Fact 24, it started a 5-year holiday tradition.
Bells and bangles, bright green holly, Christmas.
This special wasn't meant to be a one-off. Its success launched a run of annual Berenstain Bears holiday specials on NBC that lasted 5 years, from 1979 through 1983. Each year built on what this first one established. The tone, the pacing, the values. Without this special working, none of the others would have existed. Watching now, you're seeing the blueprint. Later specials refined it, softened it, and made it safer. But everything started here, before the formula fully settled in. Fact 25, the book came after the TV special. This story didn't begin on a bookshelf. The television special came first. Only afterward did Random House publish the storybook in 1980. That's backwards from what most people assume. Usually, books are adapted for television. Here, the animation became the source. Kids who read the book later were actually reading a television adaptation without realizing it. That reversal is rare, especially for the Berenstains. The book fits so naturally into their catalog that its unusual origin quietly disappeared. Fact 26. The special stayed in print for nearly 3 decades. The story refused to fade away. The Random House edition stayed in print until 2009, nearly 30 years. Very few children's holiday stories last that long. New generations kept finding it, often without knowing it started as a TV special. Parents who grew up with the Bears were now reading the same story to their children. That longevity shows how well the message aged. It didn't feel tied to one decade or trend. Quiet, simple stories like this endured, while louder ones disappeared. Fact 27. It was released in a series of obscure home formats This special never had one definitive version. It appeared on Betamax and Laserdisc in 1984. VHS releases followed in 1987, 1989, and 1992. DVDs came much later, in 2002 and 2008. Each release reached a different audience. Some families owned it, others only caught it on television. Memories of it feel fragmented because access was fragmented. Everyone remembers it slightly differently depending on when and how they found it. Fact 28, a Christian edition, was created decades later.
When they got back to the Christmas tree lot, the lot was there, but the trees were not.
Years after its debut, the story changed. In 2009, Zondervan released a Living Lights edition that added clear Christian elements. Manger scenes, Bible verses, explicit religious framing, none of that existed in the original special. The earlier version kept its message broad and quiet, letting families interpret it in their own way. This new edition reshaped the story for a different audience. Some readers welcomed it, others preferred the softer, original tone. The fact that the story could be altered this way shows how open-ended it was to begin with, and how later versions felt the need to define what the original left unsaid. Fact 29, the New York Times took the animation seriously.
Now be sure to dress warmly,
said wise Mama Bear.
There's more than a hint of snow in the air.
This wasn't brushed off as throwaway television. The New York Times reviewed the special and praised its imaginative animation. Critic Alexis Green described it as charming and thoughtfully made. That kind of attention mattered. Holiday cartoons often aired and vanished without notice. This one didn't. It was treated like real storytelling, not filler. Looking back, that respect feels earned. The animation wasn't loud or flashy, it was careful and deliberate. That critical recognition helped move the Bears beyond book pages and into a larger cultural space, something very few children's specials managed to do at the time. Fact 30. The entire production was rushed to meet Christmas.
Hurry, Papa, chop it down! Yes! We still have time to get back to town!
The clock was always working against them. Production began with early script meetings in late February. Everything had to be finished by November 10th. The premiere aired just 3 weeks later, on December 3rd. There was no room for delay, no second chances. Animation, music, voice recording, and editing all moved fast. Watching the finished special now, it feels calm and gentle. Behind the scenes, it wasn't. It barely made it to air on time. That urgency makes the final result more impressive and explains why nothing about it feels overworked or over-explained. Looking back, this special feels quiet and gentle, but it wasn't made that way. It survived rejection, rushed deadlines, creative risks, and decisions that could have gone wrong at any point. Over time, some of its choices were softened, others were reinterpreted, a few were simply left behind. And yet, it endured. Not because it was loud or perfect, but because it felt honest. Families saw themselves in it, the mistakes, the delays, the lessons learned too late. Some Christmas stories demand attention. This one never did. It whispered, and somehow, that's why we still remember it.